have joining me the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige. He joins us from Abuja. It's a pleasure having you tonight, Honorable Minister, to join us and speak about this matter. Thank you so much. Let's begin tonight by getting to know from what happened in court on Friday. In view of the Friday's court ruling, what is the position of the federal government on the industrial action by the resident doctors?
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for wanting to give me the opportunity to speak on this issue again and again. What the court said was that they should get back to work immediately and that they should come back for negotiations. It's very important for me to demarcate what's happening or elucidate. I am not the employer of the doctors. The Federal Ministry of Health is their primary employers, and they do that through the various federal tertiary institutions, the university teaching hospitals, the federal medical centers, and other institutions in that category, like psychiatric hospitals, specialized centers, orthopedic and eye centers, and the rest of them all. So I'm not their primary employer. I'm a conciliator. And why I have knowledge of most of the things being discussed is that I'm the one who will bring in all the MDAs, ministries, departments, agencies of government, like Budget Office of the Federation, Salaries, Incomes, and Wages Commission, their primary employer, Federal Ministry of Health, Office of the Head of Service, on all the omnibus issues that they are talking about, because it touches all these other agencies. And when they come, they present to me their own documents, their own defense, or what they're able to do. So when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking from the point of an aggressor, which some of them have labeled me. Some Nigerians won't even call me up to say, oh, why are you carrying this in on your head? The other Ministry of Health, you do this. I say, no. I am the conciliator. I have all the facts. Where government is wrong, I tell government. Where my doctors, my boys, my young boys, my children are wrong, I also tell them. When they refuse to listen, I go to the Elders Forum of the Medical Association. We have an Elders Forum. When they also forget to or not agree, we go to Nigeria Medical Association, which is the umbrella body that all the associations, whether you are NAD or you are a consultant, medical and other consultant association, all of them are affiliated to NMA. So, for me, the court has not said anything new, as far as I'm concerned. When they said 2 weeks ago that all hostilities should cease, I go to court, so I know what that means. It means that you return back to your status quo. And they even said that the settlement should continue, the adjudication should continue outside the courts.
So, Minister,
but that wasn't dealt to them.
Let me ask, you said that as a conciliator, you said you tell any of the parties wherever they are wrong. So for the federal government, where did the federal government get it wrong in the matter of the resident doctors?
Oh, why not? I berated some government officials. I won't go into deep details. But talk in terms of something like the Residency Training Fund. That money was appropriated in 2021. It was delayed because the president signed the supplementary budget. But because the resident doctors did not want to listen, they wanted the money to go into their account immediately according to them. I told them no. When the budget office explained, we don't have this cash. The borrowing agencies, World Bank and the rest, will give us this money through the CBN in dollars, and we change it to give to you, to pay you, and others that are involved because we are funding the budget through some deficits. So I will tell budget office, expedite action. Do this in 1 week because this is an emergency. These people are not accountants. They don't understand. And we put it down. And the budget office rises up to the occasion, works day and night, and put it out. Minister of Finance approves. AIE, Authority to Incur Expenditure, is done. And the 4.8 billion is there, waiting to be disbursed. Give us the names of those to be paid. And they bring their names through their postgraduate medical college and the CMDs and the local chapter of ARD. And when the names come, the apparent body Ministry of Health discovers that there are names that are not resident doctors. So how do you pay? Okay, they submitted 8,000 names. They have cleaned them down to 5,800. That means about 2,000 plus are not resident doctors. Why do you pay them? Further investigation, according to the Minister of Health, reveals that these people, some of them are medical officers, senior medical officers, principal medical officers, who hold appointments, full-scale appointments. Some of them are not resident doctors. How do you pay them? But because they have been captured in the net of Medical Resident Doctors Association, they want them to be paid. That's wrong. I will tell resident doctors, no, give them more time to clean up. They are cleaning it up. The money is there. So I expected resident doctors to go and help them clean up and submit an authentic list.
All right, so, I mean,
So
it's interesting.
An example.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're mentioning all of these processes. So the federal government actually went to the World Bank to get a loan just to fix this problem.
We didn't go to the World Bank to get loan for this specific problem, Sheung. Concern yourself with what we are discussing. Whether the federal government went to...
I just wanted to get clarification, Minister.
Because African Development Bank. Forget where the money comes from, Sheung. I've told you that we are doing some borrowings, and some of these borrowings, when we are cross-matching, and the money is not enough, you can juggle. The finance minister can explain that to you. Leave me, I'm not a finance person.
Okay, let me get to know, since the court has ordered that all parties should return to the negotiation table, how will that go?
Yes. Oh, well, that is the court order that is prevalent now. I saw where a young man was saying, oh, they have appealed, they asked their lawyers to appeal, do stay of execution, and the rest of them. I've been speaking with their lawyer, Femi Falana, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to me that it's only Femi Falana that is doing this case. Because I spoke with him on Thursday before they went to court, and I know what we discussed, and I know what we agreed on, for them to come and sign the Memorandum of Understanding that was done on the 21st of August. That was our agreement, and that they get to court, they will tell the court that they are pursuing a peaceful resolution, only for them not to do so, received another advice from another lawyer, and who gave them another complete set of Memorandum of Understanding to bring to me in the office. I told them no. I'd already discussed with Femi, and that this is what we agreed on. So you may need to confer with him. I called Femi up and I said, look at what is going on. He said he will speak to them. Femi Falana is a very senior lawyer. He's very vast in industrial relations of NMA in particular, NMA and NAD. He has been their chief lawyer since the 90s when I was in Lagos in the hospital services and training department. So he knows what to do. He knows what to advise them. In fact, we spoke again today, and he said he will get in touch with them. I'm not a lawyer, but I've been going to courts. The Igbos will call people like us courtma. We go to court often. We are litigants, always. Election petition, human rights, abuse of anything. I'm a law-abiding person, so I know what the law says about court orders or judgment. No matter how bad they are, you obey it. You obey it and then get it nullified or get it set aside or get it, or you appeal it. An appeal doesn't act as stay. And a filing of stay of injunction doesn't act as stay of that order until it's granted. Everybody knows that. So I intend to call them back. I've spoken to the health minister. And I've also spoken to people in the accountant general's office. Everybody is working on the MOU I gave them. And I'm satisfied. I even spoke to the NMA president yesterday. We were on for about an hour. And the progress government side is making, I'm happy. For example, the doctors that were recruited illegally against the provisions of the government circular on recruitment of staff, which is that your parent ministry will approve your number and that the head of service will grant a waiver for that same number so that the details of the people are captured in the federal government public servants nominal roll, and that the budget office of the federation will also give you a manpower certificate for financial certificate to say these people that are being recruited, they are in the personnel cost, they are in the personnel budget of that particular institution or of the government on a general basis. Because you don't want to recruit persons and don't pay them. So after that, you go to Federal Character Commission and get a Federal Character Commission compliance certificate that the distribution, even if the distribution is in a zone or whatever, that there's enough balancing. These are the four things. These were not done before the 205 doctors in Ibadan teaching hospital were taken, 150 something in Calabar, and in Port Harcourt, there's a waiver which was not validated with the Office of Head of Service. But in the spirit of what we're doing, I begged the head of service, I said, please give us this certificate. Please. Budget Office of the Federation, we need this certificate. Let us start talking later. Federal Character Commission, their own, okay, when these other two persons have given. Of course, the Minister of Finance have agreed to do that and wrote the head of service. All these have been done. What is now remaining is for those people to be captured. And as I speak to you now, the people in the Accountant General Office should be in Port Harcourt to capture Port Harcourt. After Port Harcourt, they will go to University of Calabar Teaching Hospital, and another group is going to go to Ibadan. It is not only doctors that are affected anyway. Other health professionals are there. Medical lab technologists,
but
nurses,
how soon are we likely to see the end? Because resumption of these resident doctors is very important.
I told you it's ongoing. I told you, you can cross-check and get
No,
the
I
information.
understand, but the question I'm asking is that all of these processes that you're talking about, how soon will they be concluded? Because I understand that the doctors said they will not shifting grounds until some of these demands are met.
Excuse me, Sheung. You are not shifting ground up. Some people were illegally recruited. So who do you blame? Government that made a regulation and the regulation was breached. And we even made it easier by saying we waive the processes that are involved. And all these things I'm telling you have been done within 2 weeks, accomplished within 2 weeks. This is a journey that takes about 1 month, 2 months to do. So you don't blame the government that some people flouted the law. That's another kettle of fish. They flouted the law as chief medical directors, and they recruited persons without going through the hog. There's an embargo on recruitment now. But defense and health, there's a presidential and federal executive council a waiver for them to pass through the head of service, pass through these other agencies and get people
But Minister, these are not the fault. The recruitment process is not the fault of the resident doctors. It's the fault of the employer at those different stages.
Excuse me, who is the employer in question now?
The teaching hospitals that are employed.
Directors.
Yes.
No. Who is in charge of the teaching hospital?
Isn't it the federal government?
Is the chief medical? Is chief medical director? No, he's the chief medical director. We are restraining ourselves because, you see, you will not understand the dynamics, but I can tell you because it's a system I have managed for a long time. The resident doctors cannot confront the chief medical directors. They're afraid of them. Why? They are the examiners in exams. So instead of, as the Igbos will call it, okuko and the knife that chuckle the neck, the okuko or pigeon will be angry with the pot that he was using cooking it. So the consultant and the chief medical directors are their bosses in training. The resident doctors are doctors in training. Don't make mistake about that. They undergo exams.
Minister,
the chief examiners are the chief medical directors.
Yeah, Minister, just for a moment, I would like you to listen to one of the representative of the resident doctors. What he told us right here on the program on Friday about what they are doing based on what the outcome of the court on Friday. I'd like you to listen to it and probably get your reaction to it.
So we are saying that we will continue our strike because we have filed for a stay of execution, and we have appealed the case because we believe in the mandate of the Dr. Uyulawa-led National Officers Committee that this is a breach of our fundamental human rights, and we will not take this because a healthy doctor is as good as the patient is trying to take care of, and a staff doctor is a danger to the entire polity that we are in. So again, I say, if you staff 16,000 Nigerian doctors, the pool is 35,000. Take away 16,000. You can do the math yourself.
Honorable Minister, that is Dr. Julian Ojebo, one of the representatives of one of the leaders of the Resident Doctors Association. They said they will appeal the case. They will seek an order to stop the implementation of the ruling of Friday, and they will continue with their industrial action. What is next now?
So, he's told me to comment on this. I don't want to comment. But if I give you an inkling of what he's saying and the implication, we will not suspend the strike. That is contemptuous. It's contempt of the court decision. We believe in the government of Uyulawa, Dr. Uyulawa, president of NAD, and we will not back down. Again, contempt. But I'm not interested in those. He's a Minister of Health and Attorney General that can be looking at those ones. My take is to invite them back and then show them the degree of implementation of the MOU they signed in my office. They refused to sign, but their parent body, NMA, signed. Other consultant associations signed. Medical teachers in specialist basic medical care signed. Medbasam. So that talk is not, it's a small boy, leave him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's not for you to take it serious. Don't worry about that.
He was speaking on behalf of the 16,000 NARD members, the resident doctors.
There are not 16,000. There are not 16,000. That's what they use in frightening Nigerians. There are not 16,000. They are counting even 4,000 house officers. My son is a house officer. I did housemanship. I was a house officer. House officers are not residents. House officers are not residents. They're including principal medical officers and senior medical officers. They are not residents.
So what will the federal government do, Minister, if they say they are not going back to work on Monday? If they say, look, they are appealing the case and they are seeking a stoppage of the order pending the determination of the case. That's what they said they will do, and they will not go back to work.
Until the order is stopped by the courts, you have to obey. That's the law.
But is the regime...
That's the first law in court.
Is the regime of the no work, no...
court.
You told me some times ago that you will implement the no work, no pay regime on them should they not go back to work. Is that still in effect?
Sharon, I've told you when we started the program, I am not their employer. I am not.
But your office took them to court, Minister. But your office dragged them to court.
No, go on. Sharon, go and read the labor law now. I quoted the section for you. I know you are very intelligent. Go to section 17.
We've had this conversation,
section 17
Minister.
Says,
yes,
it says if I'm unable to conciliate a matter, I send it upstairs.
Yes.
So
and
that's
what you did.
That's what I did.
That's what I'm saying.
When after 15 days, they refused to go back to work. What is it called? House of Reps Committee. The chairman, Dr. Sununu, convened a full committee based on directive from the speaker, who is also their friend. Sununu didn't make any headway. We went to Medical and Dental Elders Council. Sununu, NMA President, Senator Olorebe, everybody were there. And I said to them that my own work is to make sure that there's peace in industrial relation milieu, especially in health. I also told them there that in a pandemic, the ILO says nobody should go on strike, not to talk about those on essential duties. So that if I, after 15 days, do not transmit this to the industrial court to look at it, somebody will say that I'm wanting in my job. They will quote that relevant areas of the ILO principle at work and option to strike. So I didn't want that. So that's why I transmitted it. And when I transmitted it, the court took it in. The Ministry of Health, who is involved as one of the parties, took over the case because it's their own. They are workers. They're not my own.
Minister,
I'm an industrial relation conciliator.
All right, let me ask you this quickly. The president met the NMA officials.
Yes.
Did President Buhari instruct that all cases on the health sector dispute be withdrawn from the court?
No, the president didn't do that. The president wouldn't have done that. The president knows the principles of separation of powers. We're executive. If a case is in court, how do you direct people, the court not to adjudicate on it? Unless the two parties come of their own volition and say, we have settled, or give us time to go and settle. These are the conditions. Our president doesn't dabble into judicial matters. He's very scared about doing such a thing.
In that
but he
meeting,
told us,
at that meeting,
he spoke to the strikers and said, please call off your strike. This government doesn't like owing. We don't owe anybody who is genuinely employed, which I've been reiterating before. And even if we do, we settle all debts on proper verification. And he also said, even the debts owed by previous regime, we're paying them. Owed workers, owed institutions like ASU and Revitalization Fund and the other things, owed contractors, old pensioners of Nigerian Airways and others, are paying. We're paying, even with the lean resources available to us. So, Mr. President, appeal to them to call off the strike and go back to negotiation and assure them that negotiation, no matter how long it takes, will be to their advantage. And that's what I'm doing as Minister of Labor and Employment.
I remember at that meeting, at that meeting, the president was making, because it was at about that time that Johesu also issued a warning to say they are going to go on indefinite strike. And so the president has said he will settle all these cases and that payments are going to be done. That commitment that the president made and the demands of the resident doctor, when is that commitment going to take effect, based on what President Buhari said?
The commitment of the president is absolute. The commitment of the president is irreversible. The commitment of the president still stands. And that's why everything in that MOU, we are taking them one after the other, seriatim and dealing with them. We are dealing with them one after the other. Most of them are not even issues for strike. Something like the hazard allowance. It is government that invited NMA with NAD and the Consultants Association, Johesu and everybody, and say, come, let's sit down. Let's renegotiate this hazard allowance that has not been touched for 20 years. 5,000. It's ridiculous. And that is also why the same government, in 2020, in the heat of the COVID-19, summoned them again, and under one roof, we all agreed on what should be paid. It was calibrated, and government paid. Government budgeted 20 billion. We found out 20 billion couldn't do much. You didn't finish it. Paid 32 billion. 12 more billion on the 20. 32. Even with that 32 billion, there are scattered pockets of institutions that were not covered and the rest of them all. It is even in their point of dispute. But payment on that have started. Just about 5 days ago, it will started because
Honorable Minister,
the institutions have non-complied and given the names.
All right, let's take a breather. Stay with me for a moment, because when we come back, we'll get your closing thought on the way forward. Because we need to finalize on the conversation we're having and see perhaps a middle ground solution to all of these problems. So we come back to you, Honorable Minister, in a moment. But up next, we'll take a break, and when we return, renowned Nigerian professor of political economics, Patrick Utomi, will be joining me on the program on the issue of the economy and the way forward for Nigeria. That's when we're taking our closing moments with the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back.
Our problems are divided into two. One arm of our problem is policy. The other arm of our problem is payments. Okay? Now, let me take the policy. We are saying that the time interval for when one chief medical director changes or replaces one doctor in any federal teaching hospital or federal medical center is between 1 and 2 years. Change that policy. That is one of the things we're saying. Number two policy, we are saying stop the casualization of medical doctors as seen in over 23 centers, member centers of NARD. 23. Some of them have been casualized for 2 years. Some of them for 18 months.
Thank you, everyone. The Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, who has been speaking with us on the impasse between the resident doctors and the federal government. Let's get our closing moments with him now. You heard what the doctors said about the situation of things, their plight, their grievances, their demands, and I asked him specifically if they want to make a compromise, the middle ground, the minimum requirement for them to go back to work, and he listed a few of them. But for the federal government, because Nigerians will want this matter resolved, it's about 50 days now. What is the minimum or the middle ground that the federal government can come to? Can you give us a promise tonight, Honorable Minister, that maybe by Wednesday or Tuesday, you will ensure that the resident doctors are back to work?
Well, Femi, I will take it in my stride and tell you that, again, I'm satisfied with the pace of execution, what the federal government side, whether it's Office of Head of Service, whether it is Accountant General of the Federation, Budget Office of the Federation, Ministry of Salaries, Income, and Wages. I'm very satisfied with all they have done. I give you a typical example. Look at the circular they are talking about from Salaries, Incomes, and Wages. Immediately I looked at this circular, and immediately we looked at it on the government side. We advised the chairman, Salaries, Incomes, and Wages. This circular will lead to the, loss of income on the part of the consultants. They made Sabam also went to court, and the court granted them an order. No matter how good or bad the order is, you must obey. The federal government must obey. So much on that table, we asked them to revert back to the Commerce Consolidated Medical Service scale, which they were dropped from, because some of them had letter of appointment from their various universities, placing them on Commerce ab initio and not on CONUAS, which is for academics. So, just like that, everything on this matter, we have done hop, step, and jump on it.
All right.
I spoke with the NMA president, and I told him. So I want to, the man who spoke last is the man you told me about before, who talked about 18,000, and I told you figure is not there. He's talking about policy. I don't know what policy he's talking about. The ratio of doctor, and it's not in their grievances.
But
he's injecting new things.
But Minister,
talked about what other thing did he talk about?
Because
I don't know about those.
Yeah, we have just 30 seconds to go now. Tell us, Minister, what will happen going forward from this moment? Are we going to see a situation by, for example, Monday, that your office will withdraw the case from the industrial court, and the doctors will be able to go back to work?
Sharon, I don't understand you. I've explained to you how my transmission to industrial court happened.
I understand.
Due to Section
but we're looking for a middle ground solution.
I'm Fontus official. No, it's Ministry of Health. It's Federal Ministry of Health and Attorney General's office that can withdraw the matter from court. But the court has ruled and say go and do some more settlement. But meanwhile, you go back to work and then continue the settlement. They have not gone back to work. So it is left for those who are plaintiff on the matter, the Federal Ministry of Health and the Attorney General's office, and of course the NMA and NAT, to come back to me and say this is what we want. For me, it is a settlement that I want. But once the case has been reverted, the first port of call is for the case to be in Federal Ministry of Health. And from there, it then start coming to me.
All right.
Yeah, that is the route. And for me, I've advised the Minister of Health to see what he can do so that the discussion will start off immediately. I even told Femi Falana that this evening, that his clients should be advised. But unfortunately, like I said, he's not alone in the matter. If you are going to court or going to visit a lawyer, you should know that you should be aware of two things. If you meet a lawyer who likes more fees to come, he will perpetually want you to continue with the case so that the case doesn't end. But Femi is not in that group. He wouldn't advise that. So I want to appeal to NAT for them to reconsider their position, get back to work tomorrow or next, and then come back again for discussions. We have so many things to discuss. I have nephews who are resident doctors, Femi, Sheung. I have 3 of them in the East, at Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital, at UNTH Enugu, at Orthopedic Hospital Enugu. I have so many of them. I have my son, house officer. I have my daughter who is joining the husbandship in October. I have a son who is God willing, going to graduate again October, November in medicine. So I cannot destroy the profession, but I have to protect the profession too.
All right.
If
Minister,
it's
we
going to be
need to leave it at
vandalized.
that. Is a house, the Ngige house full of doctors. And we hope that with your experience and your interest, we might be able to resolve all of this. Thank you so much, Dr. Christopher Nwabueze Ngige, Honorable Minister for Labor. Christian, is it? Thank you so much, Honorable Minister,
Christian,
for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time today.
I welcome you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.